A prince without a name. Imagine that. One morning, you wake up sworn to the oldest dynasty on Earth. By nightfall, you're begging your uncle for permission to ditch that dynasty's surname, only to be slammed with a resounding no. Now the father you barely speak to is sharpening the legal knives.
Prince Harry has spoken out pretty clearly in his most recent interview. He doesn't speak to his father anymore.
The press is circling, and even Netflix, your last Hollywood lifeline, is wobbling. Sound dramatic? It's real. And it's the story of how Prince Harry gambled his royal identity on a single surname, and may lose everything instead. But the blow that hurt most didn't come from Buckingham Palace. It came from the brother of the woman he loved most. Prince Harry once told an interviewer that blood only takes you so far. Quietly, he decided to test that theory. Months ago, according to Palace Whispers, he drafted a formal letter. Not to his father, King Charles, but to his late mother's brother, Charles Spencer. In it, he laid out a bold request. Allow me, my wife, and my children to legally become Spencers.
Prince Harry is reportedly considering dropping his royal surname in favour of Spencer, the maiden name of his late mother, Princess Diana. Now,
on paper, it sounded almost poetic. After all, Diana's tragic journey cemented the Spencer name in public affection. Harry argued the switch would honor Mum's memory and distance his young family from what he calls the royal machine.
He has apparently thought about changing his family name to Spencer.
I didn't see coming that this couple have considered, according to reports, changing their name to Spencer.
Behind the sentiment, though, lay razor-sharp strategy. The Sussex brand was faltering. Spotify had iced their podcast. Netflix executives, nervously tracking viewership, needed a reinvention story. A new surname, one untainted by palace politics, fit the bill. Harry's advisors allegedly highlighted a historical precedent. In 1960, Queen Elizabeth allowed Prince Philip's Mountbatten moniker to merge with Windsor. If the monarchy could bend back then, the letter implied, surely it can bend now. What Harry overlooked was that bending once doesn't guarantee bending twice, especially when the next request comes with Hollywood management contracts attached. He mailed the letter with hope. He received shock instead. Charles Spencer is no stranger to protecting Diana's memory. The world still remembers his thunderous eulogy in 1997. So when Harry's request landed on his desk, the 9th Earl is said to have felt deep unease. To him, sources claim, the Spencer name was never a brand. It was a gravestone and a promise. Using it for what looked like a media rebrand felt, his word, dishonest. The reply, delivered through discreet channels, was short and brutal. No. Not a negotiation, not a compromise, simply no. Harry's team tried to soften it, suggesting dual surnames, Spencer-Sussex, perhaps. But the Earl remained unmoved. Behind palace gates, insiders whispered that Harry was visibly rattled. He had counted on unconditional support from the one adult who had once defended Diana against royal protocol. Instead, he now faced the loudest rejection of his post-Megxit era, and it came from family he'd assumed was safe. If Harry thought the worst sting would come from his uncle, he underestimated a king's wrath. King Charles first learned of Harry's plea while reviewing Commonwealth dispatches at Balmoral. He paused, removed his reading glasses, and whispered one word: unthinkable. Within hours, senior courtiers convened an emergency call with the Cabinet Office. Talking points zeroed in on an ancient but potent weapon, the Titles Deprivation Act of 1917, last wielded against royal relatives who backed Germany in World War I. For months, Charles had stayed publicly silent, hoping time would cool tempers. But a Windsor discarding Windsor while maintaining royal privileges felt, in his words, like playing both sides of the chessboard. Anger became policy. By sunrise, the Lord Chamberlain's team had drafted a briefing: amend the century-old act for persistent acts bringing the crown into disrepute. Backbench peers liked the sound of it so much, they floated a private member's bill cheekily nicknamed Royal Accountability Reform. Rumor exploded across Westminster's red leather benches. Headlines screamed, peers plot to strip runaway prince. late-night talk shows debated whether Harry should lose the Duke of Sussex title. Reality check. No paperwork had been filed. Yet. But in royal crises, optics bite harder than ordinances. Each rumor deepened Harry's isolation. Even once sympathetic commentators now asked, why flaunt a coronet on Instagram if you refuse the crown in real life? And outside those gilded corridors, another verdict was forming. One delivered not by lawmakers, but by ordinary Britons in coffee shops across the country. Because public mood can turn faster than Parliament can draft a bill, once upon a time, Harry's popularity soared on the wings of soldiering tours, open smiles, and Invictus grit. Today, polls show fatigue. One tabloid columnist, hardly a royalist cheerleader, summed it up. "My sympathy suitcase is empty." Critics argue the prince has morphed into an influencer with a grievance subscription model. Each interview drips fresh criticism of his family, each legal challenge drags UK taxpayers deeper into a financial quagmire. A Newsweek cost breakdown pegged the police protection lawsuits at nearly $900,000, and that figure rises every time papers are filed. Meanwhile, British viewers digest Meghan's lifestyle series with what one Guardian review called the enthusiasm of a wet weekend. In coffee shops from London to Leeds, the chatter has shifted from "poor Harry" to "what does he want now?" It's a sentiment Charles Spencer's rejection only amplified. If even Diana's brother says enough, perhaps the public should too. And just when brand consultants urged a course correction, Hollywood delivered another body blow. Netflix once hailed the Sussex partnership as a $100 million goldmine. Fast forward to 2025, and that shine is peeling. Meghan's docuseries, With Love Meghan, has been lambasted as queasy lifestyle filler by critics who rarely agree on anything. Internal chatter, leaked inevitably, claims renewal is under review. Harry's upcoming Polo documentary remains worthy, but as one executive put it, isn't exactly Stranger Things. Insiders say the surname switch was pitched in part to soothe investor nerves. A snappy Spencer tagline might reignite viewer curiosity, but after the Earl's rejection, Netflix execs are left with an awkward marketing void. Do they plaster Mountbatten Windsor on teasers? Do they gamble on Sussex brand equity that focus groups say feels tired? For a streaming giant still licking wounds from subscriber churn, the answer appears to be neither. For now, sponsors too detect turbulence. A California wellness brand quietly postponed a six-figure collaboration after negative buzz. Meghan's planned lifestyle venture, rumored to include frozen crostini kits, faces a launch delay as analysts redraw revenue projections. Money woes sting, but legal defeats dig deeper. While Hollywood frets about image, London's High Court deals in cold figures. Early May delivered Harry another blow. Judges dismissed his final appeal for state-funded Category A police protection during UK trips. The ruling ended nearly 3 years of litigation and revealed a staggering bill, almost 890 Keller in taxpayer funds. Tabloids cried hypocrisy. A prince who left to protect my family's privacy now funnels public money into endless courtrooms. Even supporters admit the optics are dire, and the timing couldn't be worse. With rumors of title removal, every courtroom defeat chips away at the narrative of courageous outsider. Instead, critics frame him as an entitled litigant unwilling to accept the realities of private citizenship. Which brings us to the heart of the matter: identity. In the span of 5 years, Harry has cycled through more roles than most royals manage in a lifetime. Soldier, global ambassador, California podcaster, memoirist, streaming producer, courtroom regular. Surname politics adds a new layer, one that exposes a man desperate to belong somewhere, yet unsure where. Windsor ties bind him to an institution he publicly roasts. Spencer ties, once his emotional refuge, are now off limits. Sussex titles hang by a parliamentary thread. Even Prince feels increasingly honorary when the palace might yank HRH styling at any moment. The gap between brand and reality widens every news cycle. Friends whisper that Harry's Montecito estate feels less like sanctuary, more like gilded purgatory. And what of Meghan? Sources say she initially backed the Spencer idea, believing it a fresh chapter. Since the rebuff, she's shifted focus to US philanthropic projects, quietly pressing ahead with trademark filings for yet-to-launch ventures. Whether those ventures fly hinges partly on what royal feathers are left in the Sussex cap. So, what happens when a man born into titles wakes up titleless? If King Charles proceeds, official stationery could soon announce that Prince Harry, Duke of Sussex, HRH, Captain Wales, will henceforth be plain Mr. Henry Mountbatten Windsor. But even that last name rings hollow when you've tried to discard it, and the name Spencer is locked behind a gate his own uncle guards. In losing both options, Harry confronts a truth that haunts every monarchy. Legitimacy stems not from blood alone, but from public consent and family sanction. Strip those away, and a royal pedigree becomes mere ink on archival parchment. Yet, crises often birth reinventions. Churchill called exile a creative crucible, albeit one that chars before it tempers. Could Harry emerge forged and freer, perhaps pioneering a hybrid public service model outside palace walls? Maybe. But as of tonight, the world remembers an image instead. A prince staring across a chasm, the Windsor Bridge collapsing behind him, and the Spencer Bridge refusing to lower its drawgate. And that leaves just one question for viewers everywhere. When a royal runs out of royal names, what's left to call him?